Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I started this channel because over the past year and a half, I've become really big into reading, and I have a Bookstagram now, I have a BookTok now. I was like, why not make a YouTube too? But I've been wanting to do this for a while. I just haven't really gotten to it because I feel like I have so much other stuff going on that I'm not going to have time to do this as much as I want to, but I figured why not start somewhere, see how it goes, and yeah, that's what I'm doing. So for my first video, do something that I feel like everyone really loves, because whenever someone starts reading that's really into, say, romance books, they start with this author. You probably know who I'm talking about already now that I said that. So I decided to do my top 5 Colleen Hoover reads. I have 4 of them in a paperback version, but one of them I don't have, so I'll just put a picture up when it finally comes to it. So starting with number 5, we have November 9. So this was one of the first books that I've really ever read by her. It wasn't the first, but it was probably the second or third one that I've ever read by her. I absolutely fell in love with this book. This was one of the books that you cannot put down. I wanted to know what happened so badly, and the whole gist of this book is just so amazing. It's a romance book. It is about a girl named Fallon and a boy named Ben. They meet each other for the first time in the beginning of this book. It ends up being her last day in LA because she's moving across the country literally the next day after they meet each other. So they end up hitting it off, and they spend her entire last day together, doing stuff, getting to know each other. And by the end of the day, they decide that they're gonna meet every year, once a year, on November 9th, which is the day that they met. Ben is a novelist too, and he thinks the relationship that they have will turn into a great story. He ends up telling Fallon about the story that he wants to write, and by the end of the book, or after a couple years in, she starts to think that he's fabricating their relationship just for a great novel, or just a great ending to their novel. But something happens in this book that is one of the biggest plot twists that I have ever read. I literally had to put the book down, or close the book when I got to the plot twist, because I was like, there's no freaking way. It took me a couple days to even process what happened, but the plot twist in this book is crazy. So if you love plot twists, this is definitely a good book for you to read. You kind of just don't know if they're gonna end up making it or not. I would definitely look up the trigger warnings. I feel a lot of Colleen Hoover books have trigger warnings. I don't remember if this one has a specific one, but just in case, I would do it. But yeah, this is number 5. Really recommend this book. Going to number 4, we have Verity. This is actually the only copy that I have of Verity. I didn't get the original one because somebody lended it to me, and I read hers and then gave it back once I was done. But funny story about this one, I was actually on vacation last week, and they had a mini free library at the hotel that I was staying at, and I looked at it the first day that I went there, and it was just all old books. I was I'm probably not gonna like anything here, whatever. Didn't find anything. And the last day that I was on the island, I looked back at it one more time, and at the corner of my eye, I see the gold, and I was like, there's no freaking way. So I walk over to it, and this is sitting on the shelf, and I was like, I'm taking this home with me. So I finally have a copy of Verity, even though it's not the original, but I feel I'd rather have this one because it has the extra chapter in it. But this is my number 4 book. This is about a girl named Lowen, who is a writer. She works at a big company, but she's one of the newest members there. She doesn't get a lot of writing in. Her boss doesn't let her do a lot. And she was requested to finish a novel of this famous author that can't finish it herself. So she ends up going to this author's house, and she meets with the husband because the author is on bed rest and she can't move. Something happened to her that she is just on bed rest for probably the rest of her life. She meets with the husband. They get to know each other. And long story short, she ends up writing the rest of the author's novel for her. And in order to like do that and figure out how the author writes and like what she does and how she does it, she decides to stay in this person's house and try and get to like know how she thinks the way that she thinks. And like she stays in her office and she reads like a whole bunch of stuff, and she ends up finding something that is another big plot twist in this book that is literally crazy, and you get so hooked into this book because there's something that you weren't expecting at all. At the end of it, you still don't know if it's true or not, the plot twist, which is crazy. This is more of like a thriller romance kind of book. I think this is the first thriller that Colleen Hoover has ever written, but it was written really good. I honestly am just like a fan of Colleen Hoover and the way that she writes. She was my favorite author for so long, but I think like the more that I have expanded my reading and my authors that I read, she's not like top tier now for me, but she's still like up there because she got me into reading. So this book's really good. Coming at number 3, we have Heartbones. I feel like my top 3 aren't really super popular books, which I'm like, my mind's blown because of that, because the last 3 books I like absolutely love, like love. And I wish people loved them or talked about them as much as I do, because her like most famous books, like I'm like about, but the books that like aren't talked about as much, I feel like I just like love so much better. But this is Heartbones. Heartbones is about a girl named Bea and a boy named Samson. Bea's parents are divorced. She doesn't really have a super close relationship with her dad, but something happens with her mom that she ends up having to move to her dad's. Her dad lives like on a beach. She ends up moving there, is like really upset about it, doesn't think she's gonna make any friends. And her dad actually has a new wife. So her stepsister, well, I don't know why I did that. It's her stepsister. She moves in with them, and obviously the stepsister moves there, and they become best friends. And her stepsister has a boyfriend and is friends with another guy named Samson, which they end up meeting, I think it's the day that she got there. But they hit it off right away. They spend the entire summer together. It's kind of like that dynamic that you like love. It's like you and your best friend are like dating best friends kind of thing. And they're just like always together. They're on the beach a lot. It's always sunny, summer kind of vibes. But there's also a plot twist in this book that's like also crazy. Like you don't expect it at all. I feel like Colleen Hoover comes up with like the most intense plot twist that I will never think of. But yeah, the plot twist is crazy in this one too. So if you like romance, if you like plot twists, this is a book to read. Coming at number 2 is Confess. I feel like this one is starting to be talked about a lot more, but still not as much as like her other books, like It Ends With Us and stuff like that. But Confess is about a girl named Auburn, and in the beginning of the book, she's in the hospital because her boyfriend is passing away. She feels like her whole life is falling apart, and she walks into like an art studio one day because it like fascinated her. There was like Confess on the outside of it, but it's an art studio that people write their confessions, drop them in this little box, and the artist or the owner of the art studio will create art based off of the confession that you just dropped into the box. They're all anonymous, so like nobody ever knows who the confession belonged to, but it's like really interesting, especially if you're like super into art. It's like a really cool idea. So she walks into this art studio for a job, and she sees like this man, and he owns the studio, he makes the art. The girl that already works there ends up not being able to go to the show that he's having that night, and he like needs somebody to help out. So she helps, and she ends up doing really good. So she is hired by him, and they end up spending a lot of time together. They end up obviously together. It's a romance. Obviously, it's Colleen Hoover. It's like always romance. So they end up falling in love, and there's another plot twist in this book that is crazy. Once again, you will never expect it. Really, really good though. She feels like something's a little off with Owen. The whole thing is like in order for them to actually be together, he needs to like confess what he is keeping from her in order to hopefully mend their relationship. Another very, very good one. And then the last one, which I don't have a physical copy to, I'll put it right here, is Slammed by Colleen Hoover. This is the first book that I have ever read by her, and I was absolutely obsessed with it. Honestly, I don't know if my top 5 would change if I read it again, but I haven't read it since like the first time I read it, so it's been like probably 2-3 years. But I just have like a hold on this book that I think like no matter what I will always have, because this is the book that got me into reading. It was one of those books that like you literally could not put down, and like coming from someone who used to not like reading, I didn't think I was gonna pick up a book and not be able to put it down. I was like, reading's just not my thing. And then my sister-in-law actually got me back into it, and I read Slammed, and I absolutely have been obsessed ever since. Slammed is about Slammed is about a girl named Lakin and Will. Lakin, her father recently just passed away, so she feels like she needs to be the person to help her mom and her little brother get like the whole house situated and kind of be like the adult of the family at the moment. She's just trying to like regroup everybody, get everyone back to like being good and happy and all that. She meets Will Cooper, who ends up being her neighbor, who is also around the same age. She's 21 years old, and he is living with his brother across the street. There's no parents. She's soon to find out that he lives alone with his little brother and pretty much takes care of his brother, and they end up forming like this really strong bond. There's so many things that happen in this book. The reason why it's called Slam is because there's poetry within the book, and it's like the poems become like such a big aspect of their relationship and their life together. And oh my god, I can't even like wrap everything around my head because I love this book so much, and there's so much stuff that happens in it that I can't like pinpoint specific things that happen in the book to tell you guys, because it's just like there's so much that happens and it's so good. I would like definitely recommend this book. It makes me so sad how this book doesn't get a lot of attention, because this, I think, if a lot more people started reading it, would be one of their favorite Colleen Hoover books ever. And there's 2 more books that go with it. I didn't read the last one, but it's Slammed, Point of Retreat, and then I forgot what the last one was even called. But I read Slammed and Point of Retreat. Both of them, literally could not put them down. Will forever be in my heart, like no matter what. Even if they're not my favorites by Colleen Hoover anymore, they will always be up there, 100%. But yeah, that is my top 5 Colleen Hoover books. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you have read any of these, love, hate them, I would love to hear what you think about them in the comments. So yeah.